So to start this off, I want to say I have a bit of a history of drug addiction in my past, and without getting too into it, basically I got off of heroin, fentanyl, about 2.5 years ago, and I was on Suboxone, and I decided to come off of the Suboxone last February, about a year ago, and I got a Sublocade shot, which didn't actually work. So I was taking strips again for another month. I eventually stopped taking the strips after about a month, and honestly, it was not that hard to come up. Well, it's always hard, but it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be be honest. And you know, at the time I thought that maybe I was lucky, or Suboxone just not that hard to come off of, but basically, you know, now I know it was the Sublocade still in my system, basically allowing me to come off it a lot easier. Anyway, where I'm going with all this is, so I got off the subs. I start feeling very slowly better over a period of about 6 or 7 months. My energy started coming back, but I noticed probably at the end of 6 months I started getting little withdrawal symptoms at night, and that's when I started to kind of put it together that there must be the Sublocade in my system, and that's why it's kind of coming out now. Anyways, so this is it. I was on my path to being clean, totally, like, finally. I was still smoking marijuana, I'll admit that, but as far as all that other stuff, these withdrawals I was suffering from for a long time, from multiple different drugs, mind you, which I'll get into that, was finally coming to an end. I finally got a foot into the career I wanted to start, which was HVAC. And this was about 5 months ago. I had got a job interview for this field in a company, and they offered me a job. Now everything was golden, everything was going A-okay, you know. I thought my life is about to start perfectly. The day before I was going into the first day of work, my dad, he's works with sleep physicians, and I was telling him that I was having some trouble sleeping. This probably might be due to the Sublocade leaving my system at this time. So specifically, I was waking up like 4 a.m. and I couldn't go back to sleep. I was getting restless in this time. So he recommended this medication called Sonata, which is a very short-acting drug that is meant for the purpose of taking if you wake up in the night and want to fall back asleep. Now, I didn't really know how closely of a drug this resembled to like benzodiazepines. I didn't realize they worked in the same area of the brain, and basically Sonata is a short-acting Ambien. That's what it is. And so I just, the same way I've had problems with opioids for so long, I also had many dependencies on benzodiazepines as well as phenibut. So I can't take them. Now, I didn't realize that this was, you know, right up that alley, but I had a little suspicion, but I took it anyway, you know what I mean? I wanted to sleep good this night. Let me tell you what a big mistake that was. For one, if I had taken a benzo in the past, let's say year or two, even after one dose, I would have withdrawals, but they wouldn't be that bad because it'd only be like after one dose, and it probably lasts maybe 3 or 4 days. So when I took this pill, in the back of my mind, something had a suspicion that maybe this is something I shouldn't take. But I also thought that if, God forbid, that was the case, I'd probably feel a little bit like shit for 3 or 4 days and I'll be straight. You know, trial and error. Well, I took that pill. I remember waking up in the morning, and right away I felt something was off. And I said, oh. As the day went on, you know, another hour or two, I started feeling increasingly off, and my biggest nightmares started to come true. I remember walking into a Target to buy something, and at the cash register, it hit me full force. Full-blown benzo withdrawal symptoms. And I was starting to panic because the next day I was going to start my job. So I started the job. I tried to tough it out for about, I want to say, a month and a half. in my mind, I'm thinking these withdrawals are gonna go away within a week for sure. They didn't go away. I stayed at that job for a month, probably more than a month and a half, still experiencing bad withdrawal after a month and a half. So I started to get desperate. And why I told about my previous Suboxone use, because I apparently still had a stash of Suboxone in my house that I just kind of neglected to throw out. And in this time, while I was really going through this Benzo withdrawal and trying to keep this job, I got desperate and started taking Suboxone strips again. And I was trying to use a real low dose, but basically it kind of helped get me through that Benzo withdrawal period. And eventually it seemed like the Benzo withdrawal symptoms slowly started to subside, but now I had been taking Suboxone again for about 4 weeks. And wow, like I said, the first time I got off Suboxone, it was not that bad, but it was only because I had a Sublocade in my system. This time, after only 4 weeks of taking it, I stopped and experienced hell. And I stopped taking it. Now it has been about almost 80 days, 75, 80 days, guys, and I'm still having withdrawal symptoms. They're mostly opioid withdrawal symptoms, but still some effects a little bit like the Benzo withdrawal too. Basically, the moral of this story is never, ever, ever assume anything has worked one way, it's gonna work the same way again. Our bodies are not chemistry sets. I have severely thrown myself into, I guess, what's called protracted withdrawal, post-acute withdrawal, and what I think happened is the fact that I was in benzo withdrawal already. My brain was already going haywire, and then I took Suboxone again, which I already have a huge past dependency on all these opioids, and I was fresh off of them. So it's like my brain didn't even get all the way through the pause as the post-acute withdrawal when I got thrown right back into withdrawal again. And that's why I think this time it is lasting so long. Now, it's been 5 months total since I took that sleeping pill. I haven't been right for 5 months. Life has been really, really freaking hard. And it has taught me a lesson though, a real valuable lesson. And that is never ever jeopardize anything good when you have it. You know, those creeping thoughts you have that'll tell you it'll be okay just one more time. I think this was really a lesson to show me that there is 0 more times. And if I decide to go play around like this again, I don't know what kind of further damage I will do to myself at this point. So it is getting better. At 5 months, well, I say 5 months since I took the pill, you know, probably another 2.5 to 3 months since I stopped taking Suboxone, but altogether let's call it 5 months of this withdrawal. It is getting better. At this point, I will say that I'm still feeling some of that pain, that electrocuted, like you're being electrocuted type feeling. A little bit of restless in my legs, just real fatigue, no energy, real sensitive to the cold. And but it is getting better, you know. I mean, a month or 2 ago I was in way worse shape, and I don't have any kind of a rehab. I can't take a break in life. I did lose that HVAC job, by the way. I ended up quitting because I couldn't manage to keep working in that condition. However, I still have my part-time job. I still try to drive Uber Eats and Lyft. I try to stay as active as possible because I do not want to let this drag me back into a pit of depression and doing nothing with my life. So yeah, with that, I will just say that if there is anybody else going through something similar, it will get better. Hold on. It might be long. It might never seem like it's gonna get better, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. And with that, be well.